Hello, everybody. Welcome to Peace Week. My name is Becky Suzik, and I'm grateful to be introducing our program today. If you are finding this live stream for the first time, you're invited to register to get email love in your inbox that will help you navigate through Peace Week, which is through Saturday, the 24th of September, which is the 99th day of Peace Through Unity. So it's peaceweek.org. You'll begin receiving emails that will help you. So we're grateful for your presence today, and we're grateful for our incredible guests today who are going to be bringing some beauty and just light in through your device where you're finding us. So thank you for being here. And the program today is called Islands of Inner Peace, Cultivating Coherence in a Traumatized World. And we're so grateful that Gary Malkin and Yanni Maniatas is here to do this beautiful work with and for us for Peace Week and beyond. And Yanni, we're so grateful to have with us today. He has been a supporter of Unity Earth and is on the board of directors and is an incredible presence and light in the world. And just from my own personal perspective, has such a beautiful mystical heart that touches my own. And Gary, you're such an amazing brother as well to me. I'm so grateful for the presence and the beauty that you make and bring forth in the world through your music and through the video weaving and the storytelling that you bring. So we're grateful that you're here. I'm going to turn it over to both of you to light this Zoom room and light this one stream and light Peace Week. Welcome, brothers.
Thank you so much, Becky. And deep thanks to my brother Yanni, who at the last minute said yes to my invitation, because I'm better as a we than an I, personally. And I thought, boy, just talking, although this is always a we, this is a constant cultivation. You guys are here with us now. We're all co-creating this opportunity to explore this terrain together. Yanni, thank you for being here with me today.
It's a pleasure. How could one say no to Gary? Gary's one big yes, so you just follow the yes.
Well, you know, that the reason why I decided at the last minute, I really want to have somebody to talk to about this, is that I really wanted to be with someone who's a deeply experienced. Hello, everybody. This is the beginning of the recording. So yeah, here we are. It's called Islands of Coherence, and it's called, what's the subtitle? It's Cultivating Coherence. That's it, Islands of Inner Peace, Cultivating Coherence in a Traumatized World. I just want to reference the fact that this traumatized world is hitting home very, very personally, as my mother had a very bad fall. She's 98 and a half years old, and I spent 6 or 7 hours in the ER yesterday as she was getting patched up, and she's 98 and a half, and she's struggling, and God love her. So I have some very close people with her right now, but I just ask for the prayers to go to my mother, Pearl Malkin. And this is all about, the constant traumas on very micro and macro levels in our lives that we navigate. And so just holding space for my mom, Pearl Malkin. And I wanted to just ask you before I go into a little context setting with the PowerPoint, Yanni, is just, I know this is kind of a loaded question, but I just want to ask you, as someone that has meditated for a very, very long time, what have you noticed for yourself is that one of the greatest gifts that meditation has given you as the rheostat is being turned up right now with regards to grief, loss, trauma, and shock, and all the things that we're asked to face that seem to be continuing to ratchet up so much? I'm putting you on the spot.
No, you're not. Not a problem. I started meditating as a teenager because I was in a certifiably insane Southern Mediterranean family where everything was drama and trauma and craziness, and everything was being overreacted to. And I knew inherently that I wouldn't last very long if I didn't find a way to kind of chill somehow. I mean, and this was, literally in my teens would have been 60 years ago. So this is when meditation was beginning to be brought here, seemingly. I mean, obviously it'd been here a long time ago. but I mean from the East, and then the Beatles were also just promoting it. And what it helped me to do initially was just to chill, which was obviously important. But what ended up happening is that something much more profound would occur. And through meditating, or whatever you want to call it, through quieting the mind and opening the heart, I landed in that place of the heart.
Yeah.
If I would just give myself the space to just not be in my head, I found myself in the heart, in the embrace. And so that became, to answer your question, for now, is the ground of my being. And when all this stuff happens, and stuff's a 4-letter word, by the way, one just remembers, the feeling, the space, the place. And then just another sentence here too. And what I love about what Gary does is, in combining music and visuals and just the transmission of the energy, to just allow you, no matter how chaotic it is, to just find that island of peace, to remember it, and to then remember ultimately who you are.
Thank you. That was perfect. My interest today is to see if we could join together to approach the question of how do we reach not the 99% of the world that isn't meditating, and how do we give them even a fraction of the the imaginal cell that would proliferate to such a degree. If we could just plant the imaginal cell in the caterpillar cell world, in the chrysalis, so then it proliferates, right? My belief is that even if we give people a taste of what that nectar is, that it will grow, because its natural nature is of life itself is to grow. The way things, you cut yourself, and what is it that heals us? It's that same innate holing process. And so my interest has always been, I want the world to awaken to the fullness of who they are. And it's through a very personal reason, which is I walked around for most of my life not connected to my body. My compensatory personality strategy was that I would identify with being this heart-centered guy who lived in my heart and my throat chakra and my mind a lot, but I was just disembodied. I was not in my body, And when I finally woke up to what that was, I went, wait a minute, this is a phenomenon that I'm not the only one that's experiencing this. And I realized that I put together a little cosmology, as if we needed another one, that I call the 5 portals. And what I discovered in my imagination, and it's not something that's quantitative, but it is that every portal has a frequency, a vibrational frequency, and a way of accessing body, somatic. I'll go into this a little bit with my tiny PowerPoint. Heart math has done a massive amount of work to explore the heart intelligence and the neurocardiology field. The mind, we all know, is not only the linear rational mind, but it's the one that most people are obsessed with, but also the mind and all its unlimited capacity that most of us don't even tap. Soul, the preferences, the sexual desires, the aesthetic, the animal of our body, the way we journal in our privacy. The soul is our direct connection. This is my interpretation of our span and connection to spirit, and spirit being our intuition and our access to source itself. So this is my little cosmology definition that I created. I'm going to go into it a little bit. But what I realized was we are living in a culture that is designed to subjugate or downright completely eliminate our relationship to these other ways of knowing. And what I discovered through the journey that I've been on since I started creating the work with Michael and Doris Stillwater that you'll hear about, called Graceful Passages, which was basically a grief literacy cultivation tool. And what I discovered in my journey in this is that grief, it's a lot about the reiterating and honoring the work of Dr. Gabor Mate and what he's been doing recently in The Myth of Normal and his work in addiction and trauma, is that grief and trauma unassimilated is most often the tool by which the subjugation or the denial of our other portals actually happens. Now, there are a lot of other ways that it can happen. I'm not saying it's the only way, but it's the most common way that I've found, that where the body knows the score and trauma and grief enter in, sometimes even in the womb. And these unassimilated experiences create compensatory ways of being that actually require us to subjugate or downright ignore our other ways of knowing. And does that, before I start, I want to start a little PowerPoint, but does that track to you? Do you know what I mean, Yanni?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, over the years, a technique that I kind of play with is face, embrace, replace. And that is to just, go in there and just see who's there.
Exactly.
And then embrace that. And then you can transmute it once you give it love. But right. Otherwise, you're blind. And you're just working out of, or your projections and confusion and just false understandings of reality or illusions. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I just said, thank you. So I discovered there's something when we started creating these graceful passages, and I'll give you an example of it. We started capturing authentic, tender messages from wisdom keepers who had cultivated a life of presence. And then we set their words to music. Something happened. Something happened that it's even hard to articulate. And I want you guys on this talk that we have together to experience it. And what I'd hope to achieve is that you start to develop a hyper or meta witness of what's actually happening to us. So I'm going to begin this PowerPoint for context, and then I'm going to give you some experiences. And if you have a pen and paper handy, or if you have a way of writing something down, I want you to be ready to write something down for yourselves. And here I'm just going to go, and I always struggle between PowerPoint or not PowerPoint. It's so funny how oh God, I use it to guide myself, but then it ends up consuming all the air, So here we go. I'm going to share this. Here we go. So here's our frame for the talk today, Islands of Coherence, of Inner Peace. And then I just want to go through some of the issues that are compromising our ability to pay attention. Awareness fragmentation disorder, I'm going to go into in a minute. There's this way in which, what we just talked about, the subjugation of other ways of knowing, unsustainable imbalance between doing and being, rampant in our first world cultures, nature deficit disorder, and evidence-based proof that there's something truly harming, especially in the children in inner cities, imbalanced rational engagement, where we're funneling our world through our frontal lobe pretty much, which is very dangerous, and over engagement with digital devices, right? And mainstream culture's avoidance of illness, death, and grief and trauma. This is the perfect storm that has designed us in a lab rat experiment that's not going well. And the awareness fragmentation disorder just talks further about what I just said, is this phenomenon that through compensatory strategies and that come from grief and trauma, we either subjugate or completely deny the presence of these other ways of knowing that aren't as fast as the frontal lobe. And I just noticed, because our minds are such certainty addicts, they go for the conclusion that makes us feel calmed by certainty, right? And I have been a certainty addict my whole life. But like you said, Yanni, when we slow down, there's something that happens that naturally brings us into our wholeness. So I just want to have you write down on a piece of paper, everybody. This is a really cool experiment. We're going to check back at the end of this. On a scale of 1 to 10. Now, don't get too hyper in your mind about this, but just feel your feet on the ground. Take a deep breath. And on a scale of 1 to 10, just first thought in, whatever number comes to mind, how connected and engaged are you feeling with your mind? And I mean in this sense, with your frontal lobe and your linear rational capacities. Are you a little foggy? Did you wake up on the wrong side of the bed? Where are you at with your capacity to feel like, are you in your Porsche mode where everything's going really smooth and your mind is working really cleanly, right? Just on a one scale of 1 to 10. And what about the next one? There. How are you doing with your engagement with your body, with your feet on the ground, with your hands and feet? Your sense of being able to, like, if you had a pain, you could identify it somewhere. Your gut brain, right? Your senses, right? How are you connected? Are you disembodied the way I spent most of my 60 years before I'm 69 now. So I was basically disembodied. Even when I danced, I was flying. I'm a part of the dance movement, Gabriel Roth's 5 Rhythms and open floor community. So here, let's go on to the next one. Your heart intelligence. So how do you just don't worry about how you judge this, how you gauge this, but just feel your heart. How soft is it? How available is it? How are you able to feel a loving parent inside yourself that is able to love yourself or connect to the people on this call that oh my God, Julie Krull's on the phone on this call. Hi, Julie. I saw that Teresa's here. Oh my God, I'm so connected to these people when we do the global pulses. Is my heart available to feeling Julie and Teresa and all the people that are on this call? So then on a soul level, this has to do with your personal connection to the animal of your body, in my view. You're just how connected, or also are you to your soul intelligence, which is the Betty. And then the last one, I know it's a little, Thomas More talks about the distinction between soul and spirit, and from the care for the soul. And I love his definition. I'm not going to go into it now, but there's spiritual intelligence. How accessible do you feel to accessing source directly? Spiritual guidance. Just write down the number, whatever it is. And we're going to go back to it in a minute. And I love this quote: the intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant, has forgotten the gift. And in this debacle, we've lost the capacity to drop in to our primordial connection to life itself. Just feel the fire right now. I've been using this fire a lot lately. There's something about this fire that makes me feel the way Yanni was describing his meditation practice. Sorry. So in a similar way that the fire, sorry that dropped unintentionally fast. Sorry about that. But in a similar way, how can we use media to actually be a fire around which we can join hands and reclaim our primordial connection to life itself and to the 5 forms and more of knowing? We can go as far as, the chakras, which is, there's no end to the life expansion possible. But let's use, many of you have seen this before, but this moment in the stream of our lives is different. Every second is different. Therefore, content hits us differently. And as we pay attention to how we pay attention, as we pay attention to how we are present in the here and now, magic can happen and awaken and bring whole all of who we are. So let's look at this together as if we're around a fire together. Well, that's not it. Hold on. There.
You are invited to experience unity. It's time to put aside the differences that divide us. And embrace the beauty of each one of us being different, being unique, being ourselves. In the essence of who we truly are. A beautiful array of human beings across the planet. So many different ways of being human. So let us get to know each other. Let's spend time with each other. Let's learn from each other. And let's open our hearts to each other. And let's find the unity that exists right in the middle of the richness of our diversity. We are human. We are unique. We are one.
What is it about the way the notes that pause actually catch us in a disarming amount of emotional tenderness? What is it about the quality of Sarah's voice that speaks at a pace that allows us to slow down enough to allow the natural healing, holding process to unfold in our beings so that we come and literally remember who we are, literally remember who we are. What is it? And this is what I became fascinated with when we started working with the question with Graceful Passages to people like Thich Nhat Hanh and Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and Ram Dass and Rabbi Zalman Schachter. If you were going to die tomorrow, what would you say to the person you most loved in this world? And what we found with this formula was when people took a while to get out of their traditional promotional mind, but after about 40 minutes, literally I'd be moved to tears and chills. Michael and Doris Stillwater and I, and we'd notice something's different in the air. Like Houston, we've made contact and big S self is in the room. And suddenly Zalman Schachter isn't just giving lip service. Well, he never did, but he's suddenly talking directly to his maker. And there we were, and we got the tears and the chills, and we knew that something else was in the room. What is that? Extraordinary times require extraordinary measures. And I believe that music and media have a destiny to fulfill that we've just scratched the surface and beginning to understand. And so when I started seeing this happening with Graceful Passages, and literally it flew up, people just went crazy over Graceful Passages as a way to reframe death and dying, as a way to cultivate radical gratitude for the preciousness of life itself. And when we all know through the work with Brother David Steindl-Rast, which I did that video called, before even Louis Schwartzberg came out with the moving art video, I set those words to music inspired very much by Lynn Twist's recommendation. And we all know that that's another That's another hack. Hate to use a word like that, but becoming grateful as an investment rather than a dividend is another path towards accelerating wholeness. We know that. Templeton has done studies and all this. So now, in this moment, I have this funny little golden retriever in me that says, oh, wait, but there's this, and there's that, and there's this, and there's that. And the reason I've created this genre, everybody, is because I'm the one that needs it more than anyone I know. So in this moment, I was normally going to do this at the end of our whole talk, but who knows how much I'm going to share of what I planned. My intention today is to unpack the phenomenon of what happens when we record an intimate, tender, authentic, powerful message through the portal of our voice, which is in some ways the thumbprint of our souls. When we're coming from tenderness, and Yanni, this is something I've found over the last 25 years, when you drop into your authentic self, the voice never sounds so much as music as in that moment. And literally, you don't need music, right? Normally. It's one of the reasons I love Downton Abbey, because it was a time before devices where the art of language was a very real way of telling people what you feel and how you are. And there was not a mitigation or a subjugation or a compromise. But before all the devices came into our lives and all the confusion and the distractions, it slowed down enough for us to communicate who we are, what we feel, what is meaningful to us. So now that I've talked so much, I wanted to, right after a piece of video, I wanted you to assess these 5 things. Where are you now? So I'm going to play another track that I want to share with you, because I can see now I'm going to be, hold on. Here, I want to share, if there was, so yeah, so I want to share this piece that is one of the 13 films that Islands of Inner Peace is. So let me back up here. I know I've left my territory of the safety of the PowerPoint. I'm in the unknown. Wah! Okay, here we go. If we could create a resource that could actually enable people to feel less fear about death, or less fear about facing their stored trauma or loss, which is what we've proven with graceful passages. It's touched over nearly 1 million people in recontextualizing death, loss, trauma, dying, grief as a portal into stepping into the circle of life and appreciation for the circle and the miracle of life. If we could do that in a culture that is so religiously denying and avoiding the death and dying and grief and loss conversation, what else can we achieve, right? And so here I'm working on this series for the 2nd season of Islands of Inner Peace on Gaia TV. And yes, shameless self-promotion. This is my life's legacy work. And I've got a way, through phenomenal gratitude for the people in my team that decided to do it for back-end participation, my videographers, who said, okay, this is so beautiful, we're not going to worry about payment right now. Let's see if you can actually pull this off. And so the last year, I've worked with Louis Robert, cinematographer from Australia, and David Fortney, who did the 1st season of Islands of Inner Peace. And I said, would you work with me? I have a fraction of the dollars. I want to do the 2nd season of Islands of Inner Peace. And the first one, please, you're welcome to go to Gaia TV to see what they are. And in fact, yeah, let me do that actually. Let me just play an example of, because it'll give you context on the beauty of this. I'm going to play the Deepak Chopra film that ironically, he was the least emotionally easy to crack. Like, it was really funny. When we had him in the studio, I had to pull the BlackBerry. I said, Deepak, sorry. And I went inside and I grabbed the BlackBerry from him and said, I need the cell phone out of here. And It was hard to track them, but we finally got them. And then I wanted to show you what went into creating the wisdom films. So you understand what this is. So let me just see here. Hold on. And thank you, Yanni, for holding space for me for this thing. There's so much here for me that I just, so it's hard to capture it in a talk because I can talk for so many hours about this because I've discovered so many things about it. Here we go. Okay. So, all right, I'm going to do this. So I decided after Graceful Passages that, and I'm going to actually here, sorry you guys for this. Thank you for your patience. Here we go. Okay. So my team at the time wanted to turn my spoken word and music pieces that we did with Graceful Passages into visuals. And being the purist that I was, I went, no, the linear discriminative mind funnels through the optic nerve and makes us pre-focus more on our linear rational capacities. And I don't want people to look through their eyes. I want them to close their eyes, and I want them to feel the imaginal power of music that actually creates wholeness and innate connection to our body, mind, heart, and soul through our own inner portal. No, do not put this to visuals. And the team that I was working with inside said, yeah, but the rest of the world needs a visual to anchor themselves in awe. They didn't say that. They said to anchor themselves, because we live in a culture that's obsessed with looking. People don't listen to music anymore. You remember the days you mentioned, Yanni, when you mentioned when the Beatles came out, when Sgt. Pepper's came out. I remember I don't know what year it was, but I remember we used to sit and wait for that album and then sit and listen to it without looking at anything, right? Notice how we listen today. If it's not on YouTube, nobody looks at it. Nobody listens to it. The art of listening is one of the key determining factors to giving people a direct experience of the benefits of meditation, because it requires your multi-sensory and multi-dimensional presence with your body, heart, mind, and soul. But because the culture needs visuals, I thought, well, how about if we use visuals that park the mind in awe, that create a hacking system to actually foil the mind to stop looking for intellectual certainty and speed, and use the power of biophilia, the power of nature, to park the mind in an awe that allows the alchemy of the words and music to go into your bloodstream and your heart and your body and your soul. And so this is what we did. We took Deepak, and I want you to hear a little example of what Deepak sounded like in the studio before I edited his voice and scored it. Hold on. Sorry. Oh, wrong button. Here we go. I want you to hear this. Very few people have ever heard this.
In these times of hardship and economic suffering, a lot of people have asked me, how can I mitigate the suffering I'm going through? No, I'll start again. In these times of economic hardship and suffering, and I know a lot of you are going through that, people are losing their jobs, people are feeling insecure, people are feeling that tomorrow may be worse than it is today, and people are wondering what they can do. So I would like to share with you some of the things that I think are always helpful on a very practical level to deal with this time of crisis.
Okay.
Start to declutter your life.
If you were to evaluate whether there was any liminal qualities coming through his voice at this time, I think you could argue pretty clearly that there isn't hardly anything there. It's sawdust. With all due respect, Deepak, you were tilling the soil to find where the depth of you wanted to come through, but it wasn't coming through easily. And I wish I saw all of your faces right now, and I will in a minute, but this is so cool for you to hear the difference. So then what we do is, at one point, he dropped in. At that moment, Houston, we made contact. As we all can at any moment, he dropped in. And what is your drop-in technique? Is it nature? Is it journaling? Is it resting? Is it nature? What is it? Is your dog? What is it, right? That's a great question. But then, so then we do is I took everything he said in an hour and a half, and I focused on the section where he dropped in, and this is what it turned into. I'm only going to play a part of this.
Relax your body. Observe your breath as it goes in and out. Now move your awareness into the area of your heart. Allow your ego to move out of the way, and you will get in touch with your spirit. Be grateful. You, my friend, are not your thoughts. You are the thinker of the thoughts. The thoughts come from you. So where are you? You are in the stillness, the silence between your thoughts. That stillness, that silence is you. And that you is the window to the infinite mind. The mystery we call God is whispering to you in the silent space between your thoughts. It is for this reason that the great wisdom traditions say, be still and know that I am God.
Did you notice how the way it was scored was like stretching the taffy of our resistance to spaciousness? I tried to go as far as I could go for the mainstream audience to entrain them into slowing down, like you said, Yanni. So the idea was to reach the 99% of the world that doesn't meditate and to create a Trojan horse tool that I believe, and the reason out of like 10 messages he gave that day in the studio, the one I chose to score was very intentional, which was, if the world developed an awareness of the witness within, and the awareness that our connection to source was in the space between our thoughts. I don't want to be naive, but it's a mic drop. You know, it's like game over. It's like if even 10%, 1% of humanity realized that, right? So the way to do that, use the power of music, film scoring, which is the art of creating an emotionally resonant field to get people at the edge of their seats to suspend disbelief so that they're emotionally engaged in a way that stops the mind from overthinking and over needing certainty, that allows the natural innate wholeness of our beings to come into wholeness. So before I want to ask Yanni's just response to that, write down on a scale of 1 to 10, the order of the first thing that we ask for. I'm kind of like needing help. Yanni, you remember like the first one is body, right? Or when
The
where was it?
limbic, the
Mind.
mind. Yeah,
On
yeah.
a scale of 1 to 10, where are you now after being subjected to the stretching, awe-inspiring images, the soul-nurturing words, the experience of nature, all these things? Where are you in your mind now in terms of engagement? And my hope is, well, I don't want to say anything yet. Then the next one, what's the next one, Yanni?
Uh,
The evaluation was, it doesn't matter what order. Where are you in regards to your heart? Are you more engaged in your heart right now? And on a scale of 1 to 10, is it more than what it, well, let's look at whether it was more than what it was before. On the level of soul, your own personal connection to your yumminess, the beauty of you and the love of your favorite things, your favorite foods, your favorite form of sexuality. Where are you with your soul, right? How about spirit? You have deeper access to your soul right now. And just, this is completely qualitative and it's just gut feeling, first number, right? And then spiritual access. How open are we to spiritual guidance right now, right? And just, I like to do this recently. I've started doing this, and now just to keep it brief because I have so much going on, Yanni, but just tell me a little bit about your reaction to anything you want to say, because I've talked a lot and I just would love to hear you see if you've gotten what I'm trying to do for the beyond the bubble of the spiritual world that we're very much in the middle of.
well, this is all really beautiful, Gary. And as you know, it's all a transmission. It's a transmission of a vibration. And when we give people the opportunity to experience that space, then when they're quiet, they can eavesdrop on God.
I love that phrase.
And they can, Rainer Maria Rilke said, asks, how deep is the reservoir from which your life flows? And so in effect, you're asking us that. And then you're giving us an opportunity to really plummet the depths and to really enter the living waters and to pull from that well, not from hell. And so, for me, I got the tinglies in 2 seconds, and or maybe it took 3, whatever. And it is, this space, and I'll just keep it to another, at most paragraph here, is just a thought, an image, a sound, a breath away. It's just a slight shift. If you're just willing to experience it a few times, remember it, you're right there.
Exactly.
Because it's always there. It's not a presence that enters, it's a presence that is.
Yes. Yes.
And so you remember. And how do you remember? Just a thought, an image, sound, a breath. Oh.
Oh God, I'm so glad I asked you to be here for this, Yanni. I love what you just said. I turned myself into gallery view, and I recommend it for a minute just to kind of feel the beauty of this moment and who's here. I'd like to invite Hope Fitzgerald to say something because who knows if I'll have another window into also sharing about our workshop. But I just love to hear just briefly, Hope, just your thoughts about whatever's coming up for you, but also specifically, I didn't play a piece from Graceful Passages, which is about grief assimilation, as one of the most common obstructions of our ability for wholeness, to achieve wholeness. But Hope and I are going to be doing a workshop in Virginia, if we get enough applicants for it, in November, and you can find out about it. Well, I'll put a chat, or maybe Hope can put a chat put something in the chat about it. But it's about this content. How do we use all the things we know to step into fully living? And the big component, even though it's called Graceful Passages, ironically, it's not about death, dying, grief, and loss. It's about how do we live our lives with joy and gratitude to clear the losses that we haven't expressed. So Hope, anything you want to share, I just wanted to take this moment to introduce you to this community, this momentary community we have together, and just any thoughts that you might want to share.
Well, Gary, I mean, I've known you all these years, and I never cease to be amazed at the way your music just immediately plugs me, I'll just speak for myself, me into another zone. As you know, I use your music underneath all my meditations I have for the last couple of years. And I can do meditations without music, but honestly, it's not nearly as enjoyable. And I really feel what you achieve with your music opens my field even more, so that the channelings that want to come through are at a higher level. In a way, it's much easier for me to connect. And I think it's true for all the people who come and participate in these meditations. Our workshop is so exciting to me because, as you know, but nobody else does, I heard Graceful Passages many years before I met you or even knew who you were. And it was a copied CD that I received. So I didn't even have your name on it or anything, but I already loved you because it was such a meaningful, deep experience to listen to Graceful one night, and changed my life. So anyway, I'm so thrilled and honored that we get to really work on this lovely workshop together. And you've just given us a taste, beautifully. So
Thank you, dear. Yeah, no, I mean, thank you, sweetie. What I want. So the reason why I wanted to create a community through Wisdom of the World and through the collaborations that I have is that I want to join us all in awareness of the role that immersive multisensory media and music has in a way that's still rather denied because of the cultural approach to music being about entertainment rather than what I call entertainment, and visuals rather being stimulating video rather than tools to drop into our wholeness, right? And so when I started this second series for Gaia, I wanted to say, okay, I've always wanted to do a sequel to Graceful Passages. What it was, Michael Stillwater and I always wanted to do the sequel, which was Courage in the Face of Adversity, telling the story of trust as an investment rather than a dividend, being courageous as an investment rather than having reasons to feel courageous, right? So as a way to premiere another example of this Islands of Inner Peace modality, I want to share with you a piece of kind of a mini world premiere I think I shared it once with Teresa on one of the pulses, but it's this. My personal favorite mentor is Lynn Twist, and one of them. And when I saw the border being assembled, the Russian troops assembling on the side of Ukraine before the war started, I'm Ukrainian blood. My father's Ukrainian, right? And I started to feel, oh, what am I feeling? This is what ancestral blood getting activated and frightened and scared, and something's going on a subterranean level that is even more than just my human empathy for what they're going through. I recognize the sound of these women who are separated from their husbands. That was the accent of my grandmother. I mean, I'm just tearing up just thinking about it. So I went, we're in a moment here. We're in a moment. Like World War II, the best generation. We need to cultivate courage right now at a level that we have never in our complacent, comfy lives ever been asked to achieve. This is not funny anymore. This is not casual. This is not just the multiplicity of the meta world. This is like real. So I said, how can we do this? And I combed through the 150 Wisdom Keeper interviews I did over the last 20 years, vowing to do a Graceful Passages on courage. And there I just literally kind of found my way to the annals of my archive. And there was this Lynn Twist recording I did in 2004. And there was this folder that said courage. And I went, ugh. And so I listened to this recording I did with out of an intention 15 years ago. And she's speaking for 30 minutes on courage. And so I decided to take my limited funds and set it to music the way I did with Graceful Passages. And what I learned was there's no easy way to do it right when you want it to go powerfully. The casual approach to this will yield a casual result. And so what I want to share with you is when you go to Gaia and sign up for your monthly $9 a month thing, in some ways for me personally, this is the one that really this is where it really matters for me. This video I'm going to play part of for you. Is standing up for what I know to be true. Spending every penny that I had in order to create this scenario. And if I believe this much in the power of alchemical wisdom, spoken word with music, combined with images of nature that allow the content to go in a way that awakens us to our wholeness and to the spaciousness, then I might die tomorrow. So am I going to die regretting that I actually didn't fulfill that dream of leaving something behind that would offer a transmission of courage? Not on my watch. Not on my watch. Sorry, I'm very moved right now, unexpectedly. But my dad was a war hero. He was from, he's a Jewish Ukrainian man. He born at 4 years old in Russia. They know it as Russia, but this is from my dad. He was opened and released the camps, and he was a wounded PTSD war hero that never showed me his heart unless we were in the Jewish fits, unless we were in the steam room together. I'd feel him soften. But he had courage, and he showed up. And I want to share a piece of this film for you guys. And yeah. Didn't mean to get this emotional, but I guess that's what it's all about. That's who it's made me to be. So I'm going to share this. This is one of the 13 wisdom films that I created and spent literally 80 hours editing the 30 minutes down to 8 minutes, and then scored it using the art of film scoring to score this. I want you to hear this and see this. And the images of Louis Robert are so delightfully evocative of going inside of yourself. So let's just go ahead and just have you evaluate how this makes you feel. And I want to apologize in advance for we will, by the way, have a chance to. I'll talk a little bit in the last 10 or 15 minutes. I'll vow to that. But we are going to go till the 90-minute mark. So here we go. I apologize in advance for having to cut off this, but I want you to get a taste of this. This was a 30-minute recording of her speaking around courage, and we edited the words into a way that would create the transmission that Yanni, you spoke about so beautifully. So here we go. This is for you, Dad.
In times of the greatest adversity, the greatest challenge, the greatest fear, the greatest horror, it's possible to find the greatest human being you've ever been. It comes when we call for it, because it's part of who we are. And when we're willing to call for it, it matches the mountain that's in front of us. every time. In my life, I've known courage. I've known it was there, and I've known when it's gone. It's gone when we feel discouraged. It's gone when we don't know the way through, when we feel like retreating, when sadness or grief or overwhelm or fear seems to loom larger than anything in the whole wide world. But our heart can hold all of that and still exhibit courage, because courage comes from the heart. Courage is the most bold and powerful expression of the heart. Courage is the heart at its finest, leading us into realms of being that we didn't know existed. We all have it, and we all express it, because it's who we are, and it's who you are right now. In the face of anything, just call for it, and it'll be there. It happened to me. I was in New York, and my son was deathly ill. He was almost gone. His breathing was labored. His heartbeat was sketchy. There were doctors around him, but all of them were interns. No one seemed to be in charge. He was getting weaker and weaker. His liver collapsed, and then his lungs. And I looked in his eyes, and he looked at me, asking me with those eyes to stop what was happening to him. The fear was still there. My heart was pounding. My hands were sweaty. It was still chaotic. I didn't know who to talk to or what to say. But I felt a kind of power that was beyond anything I've ever known. The will of a mother to have her son live became who I was. The strength in my body was like that of a superwoman. I felt a divine energy flood through my fingers as I touched his hand. And through my eyes as I looked into his. I put my head on his heart. I could hear it was still beating. And I pulled for that to recover. In the case of the courage I exhibited in the crisis with my son, I know he fought with every cell of his body to make it across the line to life. I know there were medical people who did miraculous things. But I also know that the courage that came from my heart had an intensity and a power that I had never known before. When I look back on that time, I realize that courage is always there, waiting to be used. When we're afraid, courage embraces that fear. It holds that fear in a container that's greater and deeper and more powerful, because it puts its arms around it and lifts it up as an offering.
You're muted, Gary.
It will always be there.
I'm trying to find the film and I
And
can't
it's
find
infinite.
it.
It's eternal. And its strength is unbounded.
I
Nothing
can't figure out how to
is
stop
greater
it. How funny.
than the courage to live life. The courage
I
to
guess maybe
save
I'm not
life.
supposed to.
The courage
Okay, I
to
won't.
contribute to life.
I'll let it continue.
Courage to make a difference.
Figure out where it is. All right, here it is. Oh. Bear with me, you guys.
My wish for you
Don't know where it is, but I'm going to find it.
is that you find the courage that you need, no matter how difficult,
Here we go.
no matter how crushing.
There we go. Okay. I'm sorry to cut that off, you guys, but I can't wait to just hear some of your reactions. I love the filmmaking. I love the images because instead of it being really real, now I love David Fortney's work, and the 4 of the films of the 13 that I've done are extraordinary. And I have to give you a taste of it because it's some of the finest cinematography you've ever seen in the world of nature. And I love it. And I hope I can give you a taste of that. But the reason I love the visuals that Louis Robert did, and I'm sorry, I'm going past that because that's your first time in seeing the film. I should give you a chance to react to the words and the whole experience. But what I love about the visuals, everything, our primordial nature recognizes the vibrational algorithms of nature itself. And the metaphors of the clouds overwhelming cross-fading over into another image represent how we as humans process information in a very surreal and beautiful and yet accurate way. And it evokes something that I actually didn't know as someone that was saying, no, I don't want to do visual versions of this. It actually activates something more than I didn't know could happen. And I'd love to hear whether you guys agree to that. So I just, I'm completely off script here, but Yanni first of all, just from the standpoint of standing for courage and creating a tool for cultivating our innate courage. I just wondered, and then anyone else who wants to raise their hand for a brief sentence or two, just to get a feeling of community. But Yanni, do you have anything you want to offer about that reaction?
Yeah, it'll be a sentence or two, but there are 108. How many attributes of God? Of course, they're an infinite number. And this is a portal into one of those attributes, which is courage. And it's one of those primal archetypal vibrations that we each have access to if we could just remember. And so this helps us remember. And I think Lynn says that she became that. And that's the gift of who we are. We can become these things, these attributes. So thank you. And that's the intellectual, outplaying of the actual more artistic experience that I had.
Artistic. I love that. I wanted to read my friend Devin Michael's chat right here, even though it might not be directly related. There's so much beautiful stuff that Dr. Michaels wrote, and he's really one of my heroes of integrative medicine. And Devin, thank you for showing up here. Just check him out. The unexplored trauma and grief we have most often take us deep into the shadow side of life, and thus to the paths like addiction. When we are able to face these states, or when we are back to the wall, we are then taken through the pain to the gift of these experiences. by the intuitive guidance of the soul. Yeah, I thank you, Devin. There's so much beautiful stuff you've written. And just this idea, I mean, who knows if anyone will show up to sign up for the Gaia TV. What I know is, without any promotion, in the last 8 years, season 1 has been playing in 130 countries. And I can tell because I get a certain amount of royalties every quarter, and people are watching these things. And so I'm going to start engaging in ways to promote it as a tool right on your phone to look and in 10 minutes shift your state. And this gets into my favorite book in the last 10 years, Jamie Wheel's book, Recapture the Rapture. And it's the 3 things we need for a thriving life moving forward for humanity is ecstasis, the ability to change state, our capacity to steward our state change, which is what this is, catharsis, which is also this, which is a healing tool for shifting and healing and holding ourselves, and communitas, which we're doing right now, and Recapture the Rapture by Jamie Wheel. And my hope is that people will recognize that if this were in a pill, they'd take it without any disclaimers at the end of the 30-second commercial on MSNBC. But it's not. It requires us to stop and allow its magic to slow us down into the automatic holding process that happens, like you said, Yanni, so articulately in the beginning, which is you really just wanted to create some space from the toxic family background, right? But then you noticed what happened. This natural holding process came in, and suddenly you notice you were more in your heart. That my hope is that people who are caught unawares would look at something in 10 minutes and realize that it accelerated in a dramatic way their capacity to have access to these kinds of benefits of meditation. Does anybody else, I'm going to share a couple more things. I want to share another example of David Fortney's work, but does anybody have anything they want to share? I'm looking to see if there are any hands raised. Yeah, who was that? Sharon. Sharon! Hi, honey.
Hi, Gary. I just wanted to let you know that, as usual, that was beautiful. And it made my day. And that's it.
Thank you. Nice to see you. And it's so funny because I see you at the beginning of every global coherence pulse that Teresa plays every day at 2:00 California time. You're in that video. And there's this beautiful image of you coming into coherence. And so I see you every day, and I haven't seen you in a number of years. So you're immortalized, my dear.
Oh, thank you. That was me visiting a llama farm in Loveland, Colorado, by the way. And it came up years later, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's me. So that's amazing.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you
I'm
for
so
being
happy
here.
to still be in your thoughts and in your life.
Yes, you are. And Sharon London, I send you my love, and come and visit me in the Bay Area someday. Does anybody else? Does anybody else want to share their impressions of anything? Does anybody have anything they can share about they noticed the shift, even though this is a very unscientific way of doing it? Did you notice a shift in feeling just by paying attention to the 5 portals, body, mind, heart, spirit, and soul? Did you notice a subjective observation around more engagement or more embodiment with your 5 portals after this conversation or after this media that I'm asking people to utilize as a way to lubricate your relationship? I mean, the other great thing about these wisdom films, Islands of Inner Peace, is they're fabulous lubrication tools for the beginning of your meditation practice. So they're wonderful transitions from downshifting, titrating from the craziness of the world that asks us to be so fragmented to, okay, I'm beginning my practice. Let's look at the wisdom film and drop into deeper wholeness together. Does anybody have anything to share about noticing that it impacted them in a way that was like what I'm describing?
Gary, I see Kate there. Yeah.
Kat, great. Go for it. You're muted, sweetie. There we go. I hear you now. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. I've never even heard you. I mean, I've known about you. I've read about you. I've seen some of the, some of your work and always just loved it. I've been into meditation forever as well because I was from a traumatic family and my savior was the beach. Of course, I fried my skin, but that's another story. And I just had hip surgery yesterday. And I put into action so many of the things you've been talking about today. I started crying because I felt so connected with everyone. And I was at peace and they're all going, "You don't even seem afraid." I said, "I'm not. I know you are all here. You're serving me. I'm serving you. I'm bringing you peace. You're bringing me peace. It's International Peace Day. And I'm in the right place." And people like you that have encouraged me over the years, to stay with it. And this pandemic for the past 2 years has made me closer to God than ever, closer to Spirit and Lid Twist and everybody I've been listening to. I've been listening to everything, trying to soak my brain in positive instead of the negative. So bless you. Thank you so much for your work and your spirit and everything.
Oh, thank you, Kat. You've inspired me to want to share a couple of things now. So thank you. Julie Krull is on the call. And I don't know if she's listening because sometimes it's the only way to multitask and do your life is that you'll have me on, but you won't open up the video. And I understand that. But Julie has agreed to let me be a beneficiary and of the good of the whole nonprofit. Which I'm so honored and grateful that we haven't actually put it in any of our materials yet except once. But hi, Julie. I just wanted to thank you for that. And what I think about when I finally, I don't want to be morose, but honestly, there's a part of me that feels like I could go now. I can die now because I've always said that after Graceful, I want to do something. I thought it would be a whole volume on courage, but just that one piece on courage has made me feel like, okay, my contract with myself is done. I did that, right? And what I know now is that what happened, and I want to have you say something. I just want to say, in the last year, when Thich Nhat Hanh, Bob Proctor, and who was the third person? There was a third person that Bob Proctor, Thich Nhat Hanh, and one other luminary I'm blanking on right now, all died within a 6-month period. What did they go after? They didn't go after one of their talks. They didn't go after, people on the world said, "Oh, how can I hear the end of suffering from Graceful Passages, the great bell chant? How can I hear Bob Proctor speak like he's speaking to me as I'm going to bed at night?" It immortalized someone that has spent their lifetime contributing to the awakening of society in the world. And what did they want? They wanted the liminal experience that involved not just the cognitive thoughts of the person. They wanted to have a timeless expression of that person's contribution in life. And so that's another reason why the Good of the Whole is going to be the sponsor for the Living Library. We're looking for funding, and I'm not going to do the ask now, but I have 150 voices of hour-and-a-half recordings that haven't been set yet. My goal and dream is to get film composers who have phenomenally philanthropic hearts and to get more people to support the genre for the future of humanity, so that these people who are great contributors and wisdom keepers, like Dr. Julie Krull and Yanni Maniatis and Teresa Collins and Jude Curvin, are recorded in the archive of the planet's wisdom. That's just, can you imagine the contribution that could be, where when Lynn dies, press this button and you get to experience a condensed transmission of our heart, body, mind, and soul. I mean, maybe not her body, but her mind and soul. Julie, I just want to hear any thoughts you have about this. I can't hear you.
Can't unmute. There we go. Just taking a breath.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Sorry, I get very, very. That's what I mean. I'm the one that needs it most.
The content has been exquisite, Gary. Yes, the Living Library, the opportunity of really immortalizing these words and the wisdom is really about that embodied experience of that wisdom. You had said, literally we're and Yanni said this, embodying that frequency. It's a transmission. It's an experience. And the way that you have put it to music and video is so powerful that it's beyond the embodied experience and into a vibrational field between us that holds it. So it's really exciting to think that we can archive these pieces and have them available to the world. And the Gaia TV series, I'm ready for season 2. I'm really excited for that and just really happy for you. Even in the experience that you share, Gary, about the courage piece, that you've become more complete just by finishing that one piece. And I know there are a plethora of other voices that you have ready to go. So anyway, thank you. I just really want to empower us to remember that this is an experience, a vibrational transmission and embodied experience that really moves us holistically into that unitive space, creating greater coherence within, but greater coherence without as well. So thank you for bringing that medicine to the planet right now. Thank you for tapping into your genius and producing potent medicine for us all.
Thank you, Julie. It's so great. I just, wow. What you made me feel and think was there's so much that I think it's really interesting. I wanted to do the courage volume right after Graceful Passages, but almost what I realize now is there are 37.2 trillion cells in the human body, that my cells had to catch up with courage. It took me 20 years. I was going through a divorce, the most horrendous healing from an accident and a divorce. That was the context within which I created Graceful Passages with Michael and Doris Stillwater. And the music that came out of me when I was cracked open from a horrible accident where I didn't even know if I'd ever play the piano again for the first year of Graceful. You can hear the music is just so phenomenally heartbreaking, but also so beautiful. And believe me, I don't think I created it. It came through me first take because I was in such a raw state. And I thought I could get to the courage right away. Well, it took me 20 years to be ready to ask the question, what is courage really? The kind of courage that the Ukrainians are exhibiting. Barbara Leger, the person who's had a spiritual center in the Ukraine as a agape minister, said that the Ukrainians have been fighting for their freedom for over 6,000 years. Nobody talks about that. She's lived there for 20 years. She knows. They've just been a peace-loving culture that never had the wherewithal to be their own stewards, and they were always pillaged by other countries. And so that's what's firing their determination, is that we've had a taste of freedom. What are we going to do about that? And that kind of courage is what's fueling Unity Earth and Peace Week. We who are a part of the Peace Week community have had a taste of the unitive narrative. The unitive narrative drives us. And in the same way that the courage is infused with the Ukrainian people, that Margaret Mead statement that never doubt that a group of concerned citizens will ever make the change, this unitive narrative will be the oxygen, will be the catalyst, will be the lubricator, will be the space holding for us coming home. And it took me 20 years to actually create the courage volume. The truth is, I created the tool that will take me another however many years to integrate what its real meaning is. May it be
You know
not
what, Gary?
20.
You've tapped into something I think really important to presence for all those here in Communitas with you today, is that literally what you're creating is tapping into our innate capacities that lay dormant. So for you, your cells had to awaken to your experience of courage to even be able to bring that out. But literally, there are so many other innate capacities that lie within us that when we enter this still point, when we come into this full presence of the sacred and the infinite presence and moment of stillness through these experiences, that literally we can tap the DNA, wake it up a little bit, and invite those capacities to come forward and tap into even more evolutionary capacities that are coming that we don't even know that we have, but we're coming into that right now. So it's really, really, really important. This is more than good medicine. It really is a prescription for the new human to come into our fullest capacity. That's our theme tomorrow, by the way. Manifesting our potential is our Friday theme. Today is comfortable shelter. So thank you for
comfortable shelter and belonging. Julie, I'm going to transcribe what you just said. That was beautiful. And, a lot of, you notice on Facebook, a lot of I guess their algorithm must notice that I'm a complete sucker for looking for things to lose weight and things to get healthy. And so they know I'm a sucker for that, right? But what we've developed, what we're talking about is, I hate the word hacks, but it's kind of popular, hacks for accelerating our capacity to embody the unitive story. Right? That's what Islands of Inner Peace is. It uses the beauty of biophilia. Thomas, what is it? John O'Donohue says, beauty itself is the great lubricator, right? It uses the power of embodied presence and wisdom, spoken with integrity and wholeness through someone who's lived what they're saying, another hack, with the power of music, the universal language of human emotion, to actually awaken, soften, and make fluid our access to what Brene Brown talks about as another hack, which is vulnerability and emotional fluidity being an important catalyst for allowing the embodiment of the unitive story to happen. Your vulnerability, your emotional range, if you don't feel loss right now and grief, then you're actually preventing yourself from having the full access to your human emotional range, which is part of the needed, necessary nutrient for the unitive experience. So we have about 4 more minutes. I just want to say something that's a real major for me. This was the first time that I successfully liberated myself from thinking that I had to have a PowerPoint. Like more than 50% of me is like finally liberated. I just want to say, wow, I'm so excited because I finally just got out of this need that thinks that I have to have a PowerPoint in order to have a valid, it's the very judgment that thinks that the linear rational mind has to look like the rest of the culture in order to, So I just want to celebrate that, number one. Number two, I just want to express gratitude to you, Yanni. I'm going to give you a moment to share something, but I want to say thank you first to you, Julie, Teresa, all of you, Becky, Ben, John, all the people that have been my family in me growing up, Teresa, growing up into my molecules, stepping into the surrender and the humility and the gratitude that the unitive experience requires of me, And yesterday, for example, my section was cut out of the Global Pulse, and I'm celebrating that I didn't have a tiny even moment of tectonic lift. I was cool. There wasn't an ounce of me that felt lost. I was like, good for the whole. That's all I care about. That wasn't me a year ago. And that's what this community has given to me, was a deeper access to my unitive story. Yanni, final comments before we say goodbye.
I love you, Gary. There aren't too many other words there. Just your beautiful vulnerability, modeling that for us. That is the portal for all of us, because just that opens us to these transformative vibrations, energies, possibilities, potentials. And, And then just putting that in form through the music, through the visuals, through all of this, is it's just so wonderful, because my life's work's been, how do we get people to just find this as well? How do we do that? And it's just so beautiful to see you embodying that,
Thank you,
and
Yanni.
helping us to see ourselves and then to become who we really. Thank you.
Thank you. Bravo. If I were more promotionally minded, I would put my affiliate link for Gaia TV in the chat, but I am not. I did not prepare. I can't find it, and I don't want to take time because we got to stop. But I will say that Hope and I are leading a phenomenal workshop called Graceful Passages. What's the subtitle, Hope? I forget. But you're muted. You're muted. And great, Hope, can you put it in the chat? And it'll be on my website. Your website is?
Spreadinfinitehope.com. I put the link in the chat already.
Put it in again, just in case. It's not about death and dying. It's about using grief literacy as a way to catalyze more joy and gratitude for fully living. And if we don't get enough registers because people are still comfortable with their Zoom workshop formats, then we might just turn it into an online experience, and it'll be November 10th to the 13th. Wisdomoftheworld.com is how you'll find out about the event as well, and about everything else I'm doing. Becky, thank you, my dear Reverend Becky Suzik, for you and Ben giving me the privilege of being in room 1 today. I'm really happy how this turned out. I feel very fulfilled that I was able to convey what I came here to convey, and to celebrate the launching of the Gaia TV series. 2nd season starts November 21st. And you'll be seeing a lot about that. I'm going to be promoting it for the first time ever. And I'm just excited because I believe in it more than I ever have. So thank you, all of you, for showing up. I love you and I'm with you. And Becky, I'll hand it to you. You're muted, mutified, beautiful.
I'm beautiful. You are beautiful. Oh, wow. Gary, that was extraordinary. Thank you so much. I want to scoop up all of those beautiful links too. I put a few links in the chat for those that are in the Zoom room, and those that are watching online. You can find out more information about Gary's work at wisdomoftheworld.com. I know he's not very good at promoting. He's just good at creating. So I want to make sure that people know how they can find more about your work, Gary. And thank you all for watching us on the One Stream and on multiple Facebook pages. You can register for Peace Week at peaceweek.org. We'll send you some email love, and we're really grateful. Thank you so much for being here. Here we go. There's beautiful. Yes, awesome. Thank you. There you go.
My shameless self-promotional moment.
We need it, Gary. We need it. The light and the love and just your astonishing heart history in your work is just such medicine for these times. So much gratitude to you, Gary. And Yanni, so much gratitude to you as well, dear. So beautiful. Thank you all
everybody.
for being with us. Thank you so much. We'll see you all in the Zoom room again soon.
Or the Global Coherence Pulse at 2:00 today, Pacific time, about belonging. Love to see you there. Bye, everybody.
Yes. Till soon. Love, love, love.